Welcome back, noobs. Today we're going to do a deep dive into one of our target markets post-COVID, Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta was one of our top 5 picks because it checked off all our major criteria. It's got huge job creation potential, a couple of top schools, reasonable cost of living compared to median income, a plethora of fun things to do, and of course, a booming real estate market. To catch up those who are new to the channel, we did a massive study to hunt for investment-worthy cities in the US, since NYC is kind of a terrible market right now. So first I'll share our findings in Atlanta, followed by an interview with a local developer on the ground. Super quick history lesson. Atlanta made its mark on US history by being the home of the civil rights movement in the 60s. Then the real estate market fell victim to white flight and suffered as badly as New York did in the 70s. It really started to shine when it got a huge infrastructure boost from hosting the 1996 Summer Olympics. It hit another big bump in the Great Recession, but it's rebounded stronger than ever since then, and has been emerging as one of the stronger real estate markets in the pandemic. The population is about 500,000 and growing. Post-COVID, there's plenty of reasons young people are choosing to live here. The biggest attractor is job growth. It's the home of a number of Fortune 500 companies like Coca-Cola, UPS, Delta Airlines, and Home Depot. Microsoft is also planning on opening a massive facility in West Midtown. And these companies set up shop here because Georgia Tech and Emory University produce top talent in the area. Cost of living is pretty competitive versus the biggest cities like New York and San Fran, but just slightly above the average across the country. The average rent is in the $1,400 range, which is half of NYC, so a lot of people do move here from the big cities. The large amount of inward migration also results in its un-Southern culture, which is another reason why we saw Georgia turn blue in the elections. And quality of life is very competitive versus big cities when you factor in the cost of living. It's got all the big attractions you'd expect from a city, like a huge aquarium, parks, and museums. The weather is warm with very mild winters, and there's easy access to nature just outside the urban core. Speaking of which, the city's infrastructure radiates out from the core. The main feature that's making the real estate market go nuts right now is the Beltline, which is a massive urban revitalization project that features 33 miles of multimodal trails sprinkled with green space, public art, and retail. Beyond that, you've got suburban neighborhoods that are pretty accessible via a railway and a network of highways. And on top of that, it's got the #1 busiest airport in the world. Not joking. So at YD, we're bullish on Atlanta's ability to absorb population growth and scale in the coming years. Alright, enough of me talking because it's better to hear from a local who really knows the area. All right, so today we have a special guest. His name is Jimmy Chen with Tops Housing, and he's also got a pretty popular Instagram page, Soft Serve Poppy. He was originally a New Yorker who just migrated down to Atlanta right around the beginning of the lockdowns in order to do real estate deals. So he is now an expert on the ground in Atlanta, and I've gone over some of the reasons why I like Atlanta, but I want to hear it from a local expert. So how did you guys at Tops Housing pick Atlanta?
Absolutely. Well, Derek, thank you for having me on. My name is Jimmy. I'm from New York, born and raised in Chinatown, New York. And my family and I, we've been investing in Atlanta for over 12 to 15 years. We saw the growth years ahead of where it is now. Right now, it's a seller's market. Inventory is low, it's hot. Especially with COVID and the migration patterns outside of the coastal areas like New York, San Fran, a lot of people are really migrating into like the middle of America, like Atlanta, Texas, right? But how we started was this. My family and I basically saw the opportunity 10, 12 years ago because of this project called the Beltline Project, right? I'm not sure if you know, but in the 80s or 90s and like the early 2000s in Atlanta, the metro was heavily infested with gang activity, drugs. It was very rough. A lot of the rich people in Atlanta moved out of the metro because it was just too rough, right? So what was left in the early 2000s? A very battered and shattered metro, right? But with that said, in 1999, a college student from Georgia Tech created this thesis called the Friends to the Beltline Project, right? And the Beltline is basically a 22-mile path that connects all of Metro Atlanta, east, west, north, and south, right? Yep. And it's basically a project where it's a 22-mile continuous path where people can ride their bikes. There's retail, there's condos, there's development, there's art, there's a level of connectivity amongst local people, right? And that project is such a special project. That's one of the most It's one of the most unique projects in all the United States here, right? There's no other project like this that connects the whole metro with a 2 and 2 mile path where you can bike through it. It's a tremendously vibrant community, and just for giggles, right? The east part of the Beltline is completely built now, right? Those houses there, $1 million, right? My cousins were buying property there back then for $5,000 a piece, right?
Yeah.
10 years ago, and there's continued development on the south and west Beltline, and also the north, right? So these are, areas that we concentrate in, right? But the Beltline is not the only project in Atlanta. There's projects like the West Side Reservoir Park, right? It's going to be Atlanta space. I mean, it's not Central Park, right? But it's going to be it's going to be the biggest green space in all Metro Atlanta. And these projects are pretty close to each other. So with that said, in Metro Atlanta, you can just close your eyes and just pick a house. 9-10 years is going to go up automatically. So that's why, it's a tremendous time to invest in real estate in Atlanta. We have many clients in China, New York, and overseas. And that's what we've been able to, help our clients in many ways.
Investors, right?
Yeah, investors.
Got it. So you mentioned you kind of got started with your family in Atlanta real estate about 10 to 15 years ago. What are you guys working on now, and what do you specialize in?
What we do now, I mean, we do a lot of things, right? Some parts of my family, like we specialize in community building, where we buy plots of land and just start building communities. I'm just starting in Atlanta. I moved here in March of 2020, right? The pandemic, right? It was not planned that way. I always planned to move here early this year, right? But it just so coincidentally that COVID hit, right? So I've only been here for 7 to 8 months, but I'm learning the business, right? What we specialize in is that we buy single family homes, we rehab them, and we place Section 8 tenants, which is like Atlanta's version of like affordable living, right? And from that perspective, we give our clients X cap rate, and they love it because the cap rate that we offer is at least 12 growth. The gross is at least 12%, right?
Yep.
And study cap rates across the United States, that's hard to obtain.
Yeah.
Like New York is like 5, Texas, because of the high property taxes, in the 5 to 6, right? And
New York is actually lower than 5.
Yeah, that's terrible, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, houses that are below 12% gross cap rate, right? And from that perspective, and houses are like in the hundreds to 150, so it's easier entry point for a real estate investor, because real estate is still one of the best investments anyone can ever make, right? It will only probably go up, right? So from that perspective, what we specialize truly in is really we secure it and lock up single family houses. We rehab them to Section 8 and building code standards, and then we sell them to investors at a high cap rate that they really like. And the rent is really paid by the government, because Section 8 is paid by the government. It's a government program.
And that's interesting, because in New York, investors usually won't touch Section 8 with a 10-foot pole, because it means that you can't touch the units, you can't rehab them, because you've got a tenant who has a lot of rights, and they basically won't leave if they don't have to, because they've got this low rent locked in that's subsidized from the government. But you guys are turning into a cash flow play where it's basically guaranteed by the government, and it seems to work pretty well for your advantage. So it's interesting how between the two cities, it's complete opposite dynamic.
Right. See, New York, there's a tremendous dichotomy in terms of the Section 8 tenant, in terms of socioeconomic class, versus someone working on Wall Street making $150,000 with bonuses, right? Mm-hmm. So here in Atlanta, the socioeconomic standard is much lower than New York. That's why there's a lot more people there's a huge Section 8 applicant pool. The minute we put the house up on Section 8, I get 30 to 40 phone calls a day. Mm. It's too much.
Wow.
My phone is ringing. Thank God I have a T-Mobile's unlimited plan. Unlimited talk and text, all right? Yes, so I do have that plan. Because of Section 8, I've had to pivot, Derek. Yeah, it's quite the phone calls. daily. But because of that, there's a tremendous demand, right? And that's why you just pick the best tenant as possible. Do your due diligence, spend some time, because finding the tenant is very important to maintain your property and everything. So we take tremendous amount of effort and time into finding those tenants.
So, I mean, you mentioned Section 8 is a much larger percentage of the population down there. Are there specific neighborhoods where the model works better for you?
No, really, no. We do Section 8 in many counties, right? Mm-hmm. You have Fulton, Marietta, right? Mm-hmm. And if you understand Atlanta, those are different counties, they're spread apart.
Yep.
What I found to be successful in Section 8 is just really vetting the candidates, doing a good job in the rehabilitation process to attract the best candidates. Mm-hmm. That's the formula that we use.
Got it. So are there any neighborhoods that you would actively prefer and others that you would avoid at this point?
No, because let me tell you why. There's so low inventory, okay?
Yeah.
What we can get now. Like, it's not like back 10 years ago when it was like, oh, you can buy whatever you want at low prices. Now it's like, it's a seller's market. You make this inventory, it can be gone in an hour if I was.
So do you think there's enough demand for the seller's market to last through 2021, or do you think that's going to change with maybe the eviction moratorium expiring or the forbearances ending, and maybe a bunch of foreclosures will sweep across the country? Do you think that's going to affect the Atlanta market?
Absolutely, absolutely. To what extent? Time will tell, right? But it will help out the fact that it's a tremendously very one-sided seller's market right now.
All right, and what kind of pricing activity are you seeing in these markets? Is there a noticeable difference between condos versus townhouses versus single-family homes? And what about rentals? Because I've seen just outside of the biggest cities that the rents are actually going down, but the prices are going up. So there's this disconnection, and there's this disconnect between valuation and rental pricing. And I don't think that's sustainable. But yeah, just curious what you're seeing in Atlanta.
Oh, no. There's no disconnect here. All we're doing is just going up. We don't go down at all. Prices are up, rental prices are up. There's new condo developments on the Beltline. There's new condo developments everywhere. It's not like New York. Like, there's less. New York is oversaturated with condo development. Everybody wanted to do it, right?
Yep.
Now there's an oversupply. Prices will go down in New York, right? Here, people are just starting to do condo development because it was too hood back then. No one's doing condo development back then,
Yeah.
Now they're starting to. Now you see the west side of Atlanta going crazy. Food halls, right?
Yep.
Food halls are being built now, right? Back then, people weren't really doing that stuff because it.
So are people preemptively building around the west side of the Beltline, or are they waiting for the Beltline to open?
The west and south Beltline are the two hottest areas right now, right? Mm-hmm. That's where we try to focus a lot of our activity. Now, do we get inventory every day? No, it's not easy to get inventory there, and you sometimes have to overbid, but you know what's coming to the Beltline, so you gotta do what you gotta do. And people are building food halls near the West Beltline now, on Chattahoochee, right? There's a lot of tenants now. There's a lot of condo development where the West Beltline is now as well. So condo development is following where the Beltline is being built. Good trend, yeah.
Got it. So given how low the inventory is, how are you finding your deals right now?
How are we finding our deals?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a secret. We've done business here for 10 to 15 years, right? So we have a lot of connections with some of the top people here in real estate, right? Mm-hmm. Not even one of my cousins who've been here, right? So I leverage those connections. That's how we're able to get some of the best deals, where we also leverage some of our political connections here too.
Got it. All right, and then outside of Section 8 single-family homes, what other sectors, if any, are you looking at in real estate?
Right. So now we're also starting to expand our fund into different businesses. Right. We're looking construction, right? Where we buy land, right?
Yep.
And that land, we will build a brand new house from the foundation up, right? From buying the land to excavating all the plants, we're gonna build the foundation from the ground up now. So I'm starting to do some new construction in like the suburbs like Beaufort, Georgia. Whereas like I don't only focus on the Metro of Atlanta, although that's my main business with Section 8 and single family dwellings. We branch our business into higher like income areas like Beaufort, Georgia. In Beaufort, it's anchored by the best, like one of the best public schools in all of Georgia. It's anchored by Lake Lanier. So if you want the suburbs life and beautiful lake life, you live in Beaufort, right? And so that's I'm building houses from the ground up there because there's a lot of demand for single family dwellings in Beaufort, Georgia right now.
Got it. And anything outside of residential?
No, but the goal is to be a developer. The goal is to be Derek Shen.
I'm sticking to residential myself, but
Nice. Very good. Yeah.
That's because retail and hotel is dead here.
Yeah.
Is there any hope for retail in Atlanta?
There's about as much hope as Donald Trump's presidential chances there.
So not so much.
No, but post-COVID, I do. Like near the Beltline is where I like the retail.
Yeah, got it. All right, so Jimmy, I want to thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise with us. Hopefully we can work on a deal together soon, and we will keep in touch and hopefully have you back soon.
Thank you.